Traditionally, system maintenance is one area most of us don't consider approaching, but with Windows 98 we are able to run these maintenance tasks manually or without ever knowing they have run. We are able to keep Windows 98 running at optimal performance using the installed system tools. Let's view the current system information for our computer. We select the Start button, choose Programs, then Accessories, System Tools, then System Information. We can see that the current system information is displayed. Some of the current system's information is the Windows version, the amount of RAM, the free system resources, available hard drive space, and others. Let's use the System Information dialog box to run some system maintenance tasks. We'll click the Tools menu, choose System File Checker, and then the System File Checker dialog box appears. With the Scan Files for Errors radio button selected, we'll click Start, and Windows now scans the system files for errors. The System File Checker checks our system files, such as DLL, COM, VXD, DRV, OCX, INF, and HLP, to ensure they are all correct and not corrupted. This utility also provides an easy mechanism for restoring the original versions of system files that have become corrupted or modified. When complete, the Finish dialog box appears. We select Details to view the System File Checker results. We can see that all the attributes the System File Checker checked and resulted in no errors. Now that we've seen this, let's close the Results dialog box by clicking OK, then the Finish dialog box by clicking OK, and the System File Checker by clicking Close. We've just checked our system for file errors and didn't find any. If the System File Checker did identify a system file as having changed, it will allow us to choose from several courses of action to repair the damaged file. Refer to the Viagrafix tutorials, PC maintenance, to learn more about repairing damaged system files. ScanDisk is a drive utility program included in Windows 98. ScanDisk can check your hard disk for problems. ScanDisk performs a battery of tests on a hard disk, including looking for invalid file names, invalid file dates and times, bad sectors, and the compression structures. As a result, ScanDisk can check the integrity of a disk system and thereby prevent possible catastrophic errors in the future. Let's run the ScanDisk utility on our hard drive. We select the Tools menu, choose ScanDisk, and the ScanDisk dialog box appears. Notice we can either check our hard drive, C, or the floppy drive, A, for errors. We also have options for performing the test. This test can take a long time to perform, depending on how large our drive is. Since we haven't been having major problems, we'll leave the Standard radio button selected and choose Start. The Standard test checks for fat problems, plus others, while the Thorough test runs the Standard test, plus checks the disk for bad sectors. A sector is a small storage area or magnetic medium, which usually holds up to 512 bytes of data, and a bad sector is one that can no longer be used due to some error. Notice ScanDisk performs the test, then displays the results. Again, we have no errors, so we'll select Close, then Close again to exit the ScanDisk dialog box. If ScanDisk were to find errors, a prompt would appear asking how we would like ScanDisk to fix the error. We can save it to a different drive for undo purposes, delete it, or ignore it. And if any bad sectors were detected, ScanDisk marks these sectors, and no data saved to the disk will ever be stored in these bad sectors again. Now let's close the Microsoft System Information dialog box, and we are returned to the Windows 98 desktop. Windows 98 also installs with another utility called Disk Defragmenter or Disk Optimizer. The Disk Defragmenter is an essential tool for tuning our hard disk. Disk defragmenter's job is to eliminate file fragmentation from our hard disk. File fragmentation is one of those oh-so-scary items unless you really understand what it means. Fragmentation is the way a file is stored on a hard disk. It is stored in scattered, non-contiguous bits. This is a performance drag for a hard disk, no matter the size, speed, or seek time of our hard disk. Because when Windows 98 tries to open a file, it must make numerous stops on the hard disk to collect the various pieces of the file. Files are stored in clusters, and each cluster in a sector. Each of these has a fixed size depending on the disk capacity. So each of these clusters sometimes cannot be placed beside each other because a sector may already be used. Before starting defrag, there are some considerations we need to address. Defrag should be performed when programs are opening slowly, when we remove an application from the hard drive, or we want to optimize the hard drive space. Remove any unneeded or unused files. These files will slow down the defrag process. Always perform scan disk before running defrag to ensure no files are corrupted. Now let's run the disk defragmenter utility on our hard drive. First, we select the Start button and choose Programs. In the Programs flyout, we'll select Accessories, then System Tools. In the System Tools flyout menu, we'll choose Disk Defragmenter, and the Select Drive dialog box appears. Now we are able to select the drive we want to defragment. Since we are working on our hard drive, make sure Drive C is selected, then click OK, and the defrag process begins. We can view the status bar for the defrag progress, indicating the % complete. When the Disk Defragmenter dialog box appears, asking if we want to quit the Disk Defragmenter, we'll select Yes. This returns us to the Windows 98 desktop. Another of the Windows 98 installed disk utility programs is Disk Cleanup Wizard. The intent of the Disk Cleanup Wizard is to help even the novice users recover some wasted disk space. The Disk Cleanup Wizard offers a variety of ways to free disk space, including emptying the recycle bin, removing old temporary files, and emptying the Internet cache file. Disk Cleanup is best utilized if ran once a week to remove unnecessary files. Let's run the Disk Cleanup utility. We select My Computer, then right-click the hard drive. In the shortcut menu, select Properties, and the C Drive Properties dialog box appears. We'll select Disk Cleanup, and it scans the hard drive to see which files we can clean and how much space we are able to free. Now the Disk Cleanup dialog box appears, and we are on the Disk Cleanup tab. Notice at the top of the tab page, Disk Cleanup tells us exactly how much disk space we can recover if we remove all the components Windows 98 has found. We'll leave the default settings selected for now and click the More Options tab. In the More Options tab, we have the options for removing Windows components that we don't use and uninstalling programs we also don't use. We can also convert the hard drive to FAT32 mode. Let's select the Settings tab and view the options. We can see the only option listed is to automatically run Disk Cleanup when the disk space runs low. This option is selected by default, and we'll leave it selected. Next, we'll return to the Disk Cleanup tab and remove the unneeded files. First, select the Recycle Bin checkbox to remove these files. For safety measures, we can view the files in any category before we remove them by clicking the View Files button. Let's view the files in the Recycle Bin. With the Recycle Bin highlighted, we click the View Files button and the contents of the Recycle Bin is displayed. After confirming to ourselves that these files are unneeded, close the Recycle Bin dialog box. So we are returned to the Disk Cleanup dialog box. Now let's remove the selected files. We click OK and the Disk Cleanup safety prompt appears. We'll select Yes and the Disk Cleanup status bar appears, indicating the progress of removing the files. When the disk cleanup is complete, we are returned to the C Drive Properties dialog box. Those files we selected are now deleted from our hard drive. We'll close the Properties dialog box and return to the My Computer applet. The process of running some of the disk maintenance utilities can be a time-consuming task. Wouldn't it be nice if we could schedule these utilities to run automatically? With Windows 98, we can. All we do is schedule a time when we aren't using our computer. The tasks run automatically. That is, if we leave our computer turned on during the scheduled time. The tune-up wizard is used to schedule several performance-improving tasks, thus increasing the speed of frequently used programs, deleting unnecessary files, and removing unneeded programs from the startup group. In the My Computer Applet window, we'll select the Scheduled Task folder to schedule our system maintenance tasks. Now the Add Scheduled Tasks folder appears. We'll select it, and the Scheduled Task wizard appears. We'll select Next, and the Applications to Run dialog box appears. Now we'll select the programs we want Windows 98 to run automatically. We'll scroll down the list box, select Disk Cleanup, and click Next. Now we'll specify when we want to run this task. We'll select the Weekly Radio button, choose Next, and now we'll specify the time and day we want to run the task. We'll leave the time in the default, and select the Monday checkbox, then choose Next. We have one more option to use before applying this task. We select the Open the Advanced Properties dialog box for this task when I click Finish checkbox. Then choose Finish, and the Disk Cleanup dialog box appears. We can see the scheduled task and the command line on the Task tab. Select the Scheduled tab, and we can change the schedule to run the task. We click the Settings tab, and these are the advanced options for performing the task. Let's remove the task when it is finished. We select the Delete the Scheduled Task when Finished checkbox. We choose Apply, then OK to return to the Scheduled Task dialog box. Now next Monday at the scheduled time, the Disk Cleanup task will run, then be deleted. To add another scheduled task, we would proceed through the same steps, but selecting a different task, and any other options we want to change, like the date or time. But we are finished scheduling tasks, so let's close the Scheduled Task dialog box to return to the desktop. Let's review what we covered in this chapter. We discussed the Windows 98 system maintenance tools and reviewed our system properties, then ran the system file checker. We used the scan disk to check our disk for errors and discussed the defragmenter utility. We used the Disk Cleanup utility and scheduled one of the system maintenance tools to run weekly.